program got started in 1992. The idea behind that was to build up community relations between the police department and some of the folks that were racing their cars in less than ideal locations. It also helped to build relationships between some of the more at-risk things. So as you move forward with the contemplation about the idea of a drag strip again, and this thing happening, that's just one thing I'd like you to consider as you move forward. The other topic to consider as you move forward would be the economic impact of this thing. What I had heard from them, and I led a panel discussion in July of 2019, and one of the things we discussed over there was some of the major growth areas on Long Island. That was the Islip Navarro Airport, Ronkonkoma Hub, and the possibility of a drag strip. Well, that possibility of a drag strip, through the town board over here, became a reality this past summer. The economic impact that was done by a study says it's about $17 million. Can't really attest to that. I'd love to see that move forward. So my thought to you on that one was to speak to some of the local businesses and see what the impact was on just those 4 weekends where people came. And one of the things that I found interesting learning about all of this is the amount of money that these teams, and these teams are families too, which is really wild, but these teams spend going over the bridges, going over to these tracks in New Jersey, Connecticut, and upstate New York. What if they didn't have to spend that money in tolls, which is about $125 when you're talking trailers, and spent that money over here? That's an economic impact that's direct. But the biggest thing, really something to consider, is what we experienced on October 14th. I'm a member of the Hop Hog Industrial Association. Many of the folks over here were kind enough to support me in that effort. Some of them brought their own race cars. But the group of people that brought the car that they built, that they're building, and the boat that they built, was the Oceanside High School. Granted, it's not in Riverhead. But these kids were in the technology program. They were building a race car, they were building a car, and they built a boat. What do you think they learned by doing that? Patchogue Medford was there also. Patchogue Medford brought their virtual enterprise group students to this thing. My feeling is that with a drag strip, that would create more activity with the automotive programs. That was where I started with it. But I didn't know that would create more activities inside of the high schools with the technology programs. Who knew? Then I found out a lot more about the civil engineering programs that were part of it. Who knew? Maybe you do, I did not. But I think that the idea of a drag strip would be a catalyst to some of the vocational programs that are already in place in these high schools. And it would get more students involved earlier in their years with learning what it is that they like to do, and of course learning what it is that they don't like to do. You mentioned H2M before, civil engineering program. These schools have got civil engineering programs inside of the high schools. A lot of these kids are getting first-hand knowledge of what it's like to do a study, also earning college credits as they go along. Now I know from a parent standpoint and a college standpoint, college expenses are pretty high. But they're really high if somebody goes to school for 2 years at a community school or 4 years and they graduate and then they find out, you know, I really don't want to do that. Wouldn't it be better if they find that out when they're in 9th grade, 10th grade, and 11th grade? That, you know, this is something I really don't want to do? More excitement to talk about stuff that they do want to do. So I really think that this can be a positive catalyst. And this has nothing to do with the racing. This has to do with the off-the-track impact that goes along with it. They are our future workforce, and what they could learn by building things, perhaps using things at a racetrack, would really be unbelievable. And that would be the other thing to consider too. What impact, what positive impact this could have with our students. That should just about do 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?